I am a mother. Some of us can't return shopping carts, okay? Because then we'd have to leave the baby alone. Okay, yeah, the baby is with my mother, but the cart return is all the way over there. I have a Scentsy business to think about, you know? My time is very valuable. I shouldn't have even had to come to the grocery store today. But these Land O'Lake butter tubs that get used to store leftovers aren't going to buy themselves, okay? My daughter Sydney won't eat her lunchlies unless I'm there to feed them to her. I share a Facebook account with my husband, at Kate and Isaac DeLuca Williams. Our profile picture is from our honeymoon in Australia 11 years ago. From that day on the Great Barrier Reef when Isaac took some of the coral and smuggled it through customs in his brown clown hole. I'm not taking the cart back, just let it go. I didn't do 8 months of nursing school to get lectured by a minimum wage Kroger employee. I would have finished, but I had to drop out once I got pregnant with my daughter Victoria. My Chrysler Town Country is still in my grandmother's name, but that's only because she's still alive. Don't throw away that pickle jar. If you have a better solution for disposing of bacon grease, I'd like to hear it. My daughter Adelaide is a perfect angel, and if your son is missing a tooth, maybe he should be thanking my princess for the dollar under his pillow.
Hello, get you back to the video in a second. But I'm hungry, and it's time for Factor. Oh, this is so good. Seriously, these are Factor meals. What are you doing? Buying that other brand from the supermarket whose name we're not going to say? Let's just call them famished gentlemen. How about you buy something that honestly tastes good and is way better for you? What are you wasting money using an app whose name we won't say? Let's call it entrance and egress quickness. No, get Factor. Fresh, never frozen meals with way more options. Keto, protein plus, vegetarian, vegan. And the correct portion sizes that make you feel satisfied. I'm having garlic herb chicken with a lovely sauce and roasted vegetables. Thank you, Factor, for sticking with regular car reviews and all our shenanigans. So they have a coupon code for you. It's 50regular. So go to factor75.com, use regular cars coupon code 50regular, and that gets you 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Who's better than them? 50 regular, 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Nice. Now, back to the video.
You know, I can't believe that 11 years into doing RCR, I've never driven a 5th-gen Chrysler Town Country. Or any Town Country, actually. It seems like a gross oversight when you consider that this just might be one of the most regular cars of its time, despite trying its damnedest to come across as a high-end option for the kind of person who still has a Red Lobster gift card from 2015 because they're saving it for a special occasion. Is there anything here worth caring about? You could argue that the Chrysler Town Country is an overlooked family vehicle in an age of SUVs and crossovers that managed to maintain an achievable luxury standard right up until its discontinuation in 2016. You could also argue that this is an historically relevant artifact of the minivan craze that lived far beyond its expiration date. But is the juice worth the squeeze here? Or is this as bad as you'd probably expect from a post-financial crisis Chrysler vehicle, you know? Well, I'm the Roman. This is Race to the Bottom, and today I'll be driving a 2011 Chrysler Town Country, and keeping an open mind as I continue my search for a vehicle so irredeemable, not even I would enjoy it. I'm not a Chrysler person, not since they gave the X to AMC. Chrysler Town Country. It's a coworker car. If your coworker retired last month. Chrysler Town Country. The official car of sorting through the bags after you go through the drive-thru because your family is enormous and nobody remembers what they got. Oh, you got the large fry? The medium fry? Wait, where's the medium fry? Where's the medium fry? They always do this! You know, the Chrysler Town Country feels exactly like what I expected it to be. It contains the simultaneous energies of senior citizenry and young families who accepted this car because it was passed down to them, and who am I to reject a free car? I mean, even if I won one on The Price is Right, I would still have to pay gift tax. But for the most part, this is actually what happened with our volunteer. You see, Tom is a pretty cool guy. He's a working college student at my alma mater with a TikTok dedicated to non-bolt-on modifications and fabrication. And while he doesn't have kids or anything, he did inherit this car from his late grandfather. Now, he had neither the desire nor the intention to own a Chrysler product before this. But again, when you're young, you take all the lucky breaks you can, because who wants a car payment when you can just drive the most boring, yet inexplicably reliable van that money didn't buy? Yes, in complete contradiction of everything I've read about this specific 2011 model year of this van, this has apparently been remarkably consistent for Tom, who told me that even though it always seems like it's one wrong look away from breaking, it hasn't actually left him stranded. Yet. And I suppose I should stop burying the lead, because in spite of its mechanical togetherness, for lack of a better term, I really don't like this van. In fact, I went into this with an open mind leaning a bit towards generosity because I understand that these aren't necessarily the types of vehicles I'd be into. It's a 2010s van from a period where Chrysler's decline was gaining steam like a gamer with his parents' debit card. But my estimation of this van couldn't have plummeted faster if its name was John Sacrimoni. The engine here is the 3.6-liter V6, making 283 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, and matched to a 6.2 TE 6-speed automatic transmission, which replaced the outgoing 4.1 TE transmission in 2007. And I've read that one of the benefits here is the torque converter lockup clutch, which supposedly boosts fuel economy. And that at least provides a rationale behind the unexpectedly good 25 miles per gallon highway, 17 city, and 20 combined. In the experience of our volunteer Tom, he's gotten between 27 and 30 in best case scenarios. So, that's another thing this van actually has going for it. But even with those attributes, this is a depressing gearbox, because efficiency will get the job done, but you're not going to feel anything along the way. This is like one of those cinema verite style movies that gets all the award season buzz and then you actually watch it, and it's just a movie where nothing really happens. And everyone's just saying like, oh, you didn't get it. But what is this movie inspiring? What is this art intended to say? And I don't know what a Chrysler Town Country is really saying other than the line for the graveyard starts here. The throttle response is just... I could just feel the life force draining out of me the longer I drove it. It's how I imagine women feel when the lovemaking has no passion behind it. It's also kind of bratty, like it doesn't want to do what you want it to do. It's just fighting you on everything. Even when it accelerates, it whines and complains like a kid whose parents are waking him up to come do his Robert Loggia impression for the dinner party. And this also has torque converter shudder that's nearly as bad as my old 2008 Kia Rio. And that, my friends, is really saying something. And look at this shifter. It's none of the convenience of a column-mounted shifter, matched to none of the ease of a floor-mounted shifter. This Town & Country is a van that is mechanically sound, yet never once feels that way. And I know, it doesn't matter how a car feels or how a car is. Well, obviously it's the latter. I would rather have a car that works but doesn't feel like it does, rather than having a car that feels great but is constantly breaking down. But it would be really great if it didn't have to be this binary choice, because to pretend that it doesn't matter how a car feels as long as it doesn't break down would be a mistake. Sure, if mechanical operation and reliability is all that matters to you, great. No judgments from me. I've certainly spent enough time preaching that more often than not, having a car you can depend on is more important than having a car that excites you. peace of mind is sometimes better than joy, right? But you're also going to spend a lot of your life driving this car, so shouldn't you get some enjoyment out of the experience? I mean, it's not a mutually exclusive proposition. You can have a car that is both enjoyable and reliable, but it's just not going to be the Chrysler Town & Country. You want something like that, just go get a stick-shift Toyota Echo or a Honda Fit. The Chrysler Town & Country isn't a car you should ever have to settle for. It should be a stopgap to get you through less certain times until you can get something better. In that way, in its used form, the Town & Country is antithetical to what it was when it was new. This was the final generation for a car that got its start in a period where the minivan was still en vogue, and Chrysler was largely still an auto brand producing things people wanted to buy. The first Chrysler Town & Country minivan hit the road for model year 1990, adopting the name of the classic station wagon Chrysler produced from the mid-40s until around 1988. It was one of the tent poles of the Chrysler brand, so giving this minivan its name was seemingly an attempt to continue in that proud tradition of achievable luxury, like a department store tuxedo. Something understated, yet nice enough to convince people you're a person of some consequence. Now, it utilized the front-wheel drive minivan platform that first came onto the scene on the Dodge Caravan and the Plymouth Voyager in 1984. But the dawn of the SUV age meant this was lucky to have survived as long as it did. Even after the financial crisis, you'd think Chrysler would have given this one the chop. Yet it stuck around another 5 model years after this, and even longer on the Dodge Grand Caravan, which I never see on the road these days until one nearly cut us off while filming. This 5th generation lasted from 2008 to 2016, and it feels like a reaction to the breakup with Daimler, because it seems like Chrysler is trying to prove that they can still do this sort of refined yet accessible approach. You know, when these were released in 2011, they retailed for around $40,000, which comes out to around $51,000 today. So it was on the higher end, but it wasn't this impossible thing to achieve. It wasn't impossible to have this van. In making a van like this, it was like they were trying to stick it to Daimler, show that they were still capable of thriving. Look at us. We're okay. The breakup didn't affect us. It was kind of like a guy who tries to show off on social media so his ex thinks he's doing better without her, when in reality he's just sobbing into an unwashed pillow and going through 8 packs of pudding a day. It's gonna be alright, Travis. Not everyone you meet in a Denny's parking lot after Coachella is going to be the one. You know, this Pentastar engine always feels like it's struggling under an invisible weight, with a power band that's like if you made me do cardio. I'll have quick bursts where you might be tricked into thinking I'm in shape, and then the gradual decline where you wonder, do I need to call an ambulance for this guy? Yet for all my ragging on families in the key age demographic, the reality is actually far simpler. This is a family van not because it chauffeurs families to Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom every summer. No, it's a family van because it's literally a van that stays in the family. The person who bought this new bought it because it appealed to their shower chair sensibilities. I'm saying that they're old, okay? This is the automotive equivalent of a jitterbug phone. The technology is all big buttons, none of which actually do anything, because for this to have functional tech would mean to ward off anybody who would be interested in buying this from the dealership. The screen, it's just large lettering, and then the radio is flush with buttons for features this doesn't even have. Like, you can't pair a phone with it, and it doesn't do voice control because you can't pair a phone to it. But it's 2011, so we want you to feel like you're in the future. You know, really let that placebo do what it's going to do. In a very 2010s kind of way, it's nice. It has this pointless analog clock, but it's kind of a handsome clock. It's all right. And it has a firm steering wheel and firm seats, which, while not exactly comfortable over a half hour's worth of driving, aren't the worst seats I've ever been in. Granted, for something that's supposed to be on the higher end of the affordable family van segment, everything feels oddly cheap and oversized, like a Fisher-Price version of a van you can drive straight to Aldi, because you're having company over, but you forgot that Lawrence has a sesame oil allergy, so now your famous baby bok choy is out the window. And you have every intention of being in and out of the store, but then you realize you forgot to bring a quarter, so you can't get a cart. And then you realize once you've picked up all the potatoes and the cheese and the bread that you need to make your comfort food Hail Mary pass, you forgot to bring your reusable bag. And yeah, you could buy one there, but you already have a reusable Aldi bag, and you shouldn't have to buy another one. It's the principle of it. So you just freehand it. Raw dogging the grocery run experience. No safety net. We're out here in these streets playing Edward Grocery Hands. And hey, you better not try to jump my spot in line, you oat bran muffin looking prick. My hands may be full, but I can still put it down. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is basically a car for people whose only flex is that they survived to old age. Because young people don't make these kinds of choices. Not on purpose. This feels made to appeal to a demographic who, due to their age, don't know any better. It's just that the age being targeted isn't the youth for once. For lack of a better term, the car is tedious in a way that drains whatever good mood you were in before you drove it. Tom was a wonderful sport the entire day, but I was apologizing in advance if I ended up seeming annoyed, because it wasn't him at all. It was this car. This taxing, exhausting, tedious car with its jerky wheel, its throttle mapping that's more of a suggestion than anything actually engineered. And this harsh, rugged ride quality that's like going down one of those county fair slides without the potato sack. Like, how is my butt sore from driving this? Why does it feel like the response is always delayed? Why don't you want to turn? Why do you sound like you're about to explode with the slightest throttle input? What is the point of this layout? In theory, these stow-and-go seats are a good idea. I get it. Because you can have a nice, flat load floor. But it's not even like you get that much room. And to stow and unstow the second row, you have to move the front row all the way forward, which takes forever because the driver's seat is motorized. And if that sounds petty, okay, yeah, sure. But what makes a car tedious is the avalanche of little things that make your life worse over time as they bear down on that last desperate nerve holding the line against a public crash out. This engine is just not it. This chassis is not it. This transmission is aggressively not it. But then I should probably give a little leeway to this van due to the weather. I mean, this plug here is because Tom needs to use an engine block heater to keep this operating efficiently. Because as someone who lived in State College, PA for years, the cold positively wreaks havoc on engines. And not just in the morning, but throughout the livelong day. Ugh. Hey, people in State College right now, has it hit 9 degrees in the evenings yet? Chrysler Town Country. My other car is a cane with 4 tennis balls. Now, for all my ragging, there are some positives here. When it actually does feel like accelerating, when it finally kicks down, this speeds up at a pretty decent clip. I can appreciate that it wasn't a nightmare to have to merge. And I appreciate that this does have some decent room, even if the trunk could definitely use more of it. And as someone with a soft spot for novelty, I found this bizarre integrated flashlight kind of charming. But I can also see the utility of a car like this to both of its most loyal segments. For youths, it provides a low-cost option for a period in life before family, before mortgages, before all of those things that make you yearn for your past in a burst of toxic nostalgia. For the older citizens, it's a simplistic car in a sea of complication. Yeah, there's technology, but none of it is really necessary. There's nothing you have to learn here. The only real tech issue is that the blind spot detection is spotty and can mistake even parked cars in adjacent driveways as an oncoming vehicle, as Tom explained to me. But in my experience, I can't really complain about a system that exercises an abundance of caution, particularly for older drivers for whom such a system would prove genuinely helpful. Hell, it'd probably be useful for just about anybody. I try to learn something from every car I drive, and my lesson from the Town and Country is that empathy doesn't have to be observational to be experienced. I don't have to see someone struggle for my heart to go out to those who are struggling. Life is hard when you're young. Life is hard when you're old. Life is hard. Not everybody can do better than this. Not everybody wants to. And that's okay. But that also doesn't make this a good car. Before we get to where this ranks in the bottom 5, because it is going in the bottom 5, real quick, if you enjoy RCR, don't hesitate to subscribe and tap the bell icon to make sure you're notified for every new release. Very important. Also, possibly even more important, we're back up on Patreon with exclusive videos like Brian's thoughts on race to the bottom cars like today's Chrysler or last month's Dodge Durango. We also have an emotional RCR diary on our fan meet over the summer and early release videos like my review of some of the worst Facebook Marketplace listings in my area, including one I can't actually show you because it's too crazy. The link is in the description, along with the link to our Fourth Wall store where you can check out our latest merch. Okay, enough of that, on to the current standings. So since the Chrysler Town and Country is going into my bottom 5, that means we bid farewell to the 1996 GMC Sierra 1500, which graduates from the bottom 5. But is the Chrysler Town and Country the new leader in the race to the bottom? Well, it's not worse than the Nissan Sentra, so no. It's also not worse than my brother's Dodge Journey, which I'd love to see graduate from this list for sentimental reasons, although I'm pretty sure my brother doesn't care, so it's whatever. Love you, bro. Now, is this worse than the Chevy Cruze hatchback? And you know, after really considering it for a while, really mulling it over, I'd have to say no. Because for as bad as this is, it doesn't feel as pointless as the Cruze felt, to where I'm wondering who this is even for. Both cars put me in a bad mood, don't get me wrong, but the Town and Country almost felt useful in a way that the Cruze just didn't. So there you have it. These are the new standings in the race to the bottom. At number 1, the car I liked the most out of the cars I liked the least is my most controversial review, the 2004 Volvo V70, followed by number 2, this 2011 Chrysler Town and Country. At number 3, the 2017 Chevy Cruze hatchback. At number 4, my brother's 2019 Dodge Journey. And currently celebrating more than a year as the leader in the race to the bottom, the 2017 Nissan Sentra. I'd like to thank Tom for being such a good sport and for volunteering his car and his time to our show. And if you think you have the car that can win the race to the bottom, a car so irredeemable that not even I would find anything to like about it, don't hesitate to reach out at regularcarstheroman@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to submit a car for regular car reviews, oh great, neighbor's car alarm is going off, just email regularcars@gmail.com. Right now, we can only accept those willing to drive to us in southeastern Pennsylvania, so if that sounds like you, please let us drive your cars. I'd also like to thank you for watching, since this show does not happen without you. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, a comment, or even share the video. It would really help us out. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of your week. Cheers. I'm not a Chrysler person. Not since they gave the axe to ANC. But I'll stay open-minded. It might as well all be the same to me. So be the one to lend me both your ears as I complain about gears. I found a town and country, a van that's a pain to me. It landed in my bottom 5. It's annoying to drive.